Hello, DIY Chameleon people. We are back with James Cross here. James, last time you created this monster fogger and we got it working. It looks awesome, but you said you had some extra stuff to show us. What's up with that?
I do. Last time we finished the fogger, we did the reservoir. We went ahead and added the drain tube or
Yeah.
the sight tube. We added the um, flow switch with the cup, with the tubing and the shutoff valve. So we had all of that set together, but now we got to take the fog up to our cages.
Yeah.
Two things that I have a problem with when it comes to this part of the project is my fan cord always seems to be too short, and I have to find a way to regulate the amount of fog that goes into my system, and I want to make it so that it's a hard system, but it's easy to get out.
All right. You know what,
So
James? First of all, how about we do a review as to what we did in the last episode?
okay,
All right.
where do
So,
you want to
what do
start?
you have there, and why did you make that monstrosity?
The reason behind this is a lot of people now are keeping more than one chameleon,
Uh
right?
huh. Uh
So we
huh.
did the bucket fogger, which is perfect for one cage. Awesome. But boy, what happens when you got to have two or three cages? A lot of us don't want to have a bunch of separate foggers. So this device is set up so that you can do multiple cages at one time. And that was the whole thought process behind it. Plus, it also has a lot more water that I can use for my Mist King system. Um, and uh, and that's it.
Okay. And so the one bucket fogger, that's a single head mist head, and this thing. What did you put in this monster?
This sucker has a 5 head fogger in it. A five disc fog head in it.
Oh my goodness, that's a cauldron.
Okay? And that's what this puppy looks like.
Okay.
Okay? And what we
Okay.
do, got them in our float, and we set them inside of the reservoir. And now we're making some fog. Let me give you a little quick peek.
All right. And for everybody who is coming and didn't see the last episode, if you want to see how we got to this, the last episode shows how we got from absolute zero, and James built that in front of our eyes.
And what do you think that took us, Bill? About 40 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah. It was that
So it's
simple.
super easy. I think anybody can do this.
So,
Okay.
and everybody should do this. And the reason why we're doing so much with fog, well, the real reason is because it is real cool and we're just kids. But the official reason is because that the foggers that are available to us in the chameleon world, reptile world, are just very cheap, not just inexpensive. They're cheap and they
Yeah.
fail. Mine just dumped a gallon of water on the floor just because it decided it didn't like me anymore. So these things fail. The foggers that we're making from pieces from the House of Hydro, houseofhydro.com, these are quality parts. And so we're having to make our own foggers. And that is why James is known as the Fog Father, is because he has got these great designs and is teaching us how to do it. And so we are ready for all the bells and whistles, James.
Awesome. Yeah, the reason we're doing this too, Bill, is that we want to have that longevity. Okay, and these systems, I've been putting them together now for about 5 years, and they're. I've got one system that's been running the whole time, and I had to do zero to it. As long as we're using good water and making sure that we clean them out once a month, once every 2 months, these systems seem to last for, you know, I don't know. I can't tell you because I haven't had one fail yet. So I'm not running to the store to buy another one every year. What I'm going to show you how to do today. First of all, let's start with just getting the fog out of the unit and um, into your cages.
Okay.
And so, remember, we're gonna hard pipe this one. Our bucket fogger has tubing, which allows us to be able to move things around, and you can lift the lid up, and the tube is flexible. But when you have a bigger system like this, it just seems to make more sense to make sure that it's solid all the way from the fog unit up to your cages. So the way we will make it so that it's removable, and of course, because I'm just a DIY guy and I'm using some stuff out of my garage. I'm going to show you a nice, pretty clean one, and then I'm going to use the dirty one that fits the machine. So this is called a union, okay? And this is basically made for putting two pieces of pipe together. It has a rubber gasket inside of it, and it's got a smooth surface on the inside. And what happens is when these two go together, it makes a tight seal. Okay, and this ring here spins around. What it's going to allow you to do is separate your pipe and pull your fogger, your reservoir out from underneath without having to remove all your piping. So here's the dirty one that I have because it was sitting outside in the sun. This is California for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be my first step in the float. I'm sorry, it's not going to be my first step. First, we have to reduce it down. So this is a 2-inch reducer, and then I'm going to add a inch and a quarter reducer to that one. And this is how we're going to get that down to the size pipe we need. And they're basically just two pieces, okay? And you can buy these separately, and they slip inside of the fittings. And you can buy these at Home Depot. None of this stuff needs to be glued. That's one nice thing about what we're doing. There's not enough pressure to blow them out. So that's another reason why I like using the PVC. So it's going to fit in top of that guy. And then that guy is going to fit in top of that guy. And now what I'm going to do is just take a short piece of pipe and fit him in there. And now I have my union on top. And of course, it's a slip fitting too. Okay. But once you have all of this connected and screwed to the back of your pipe, up the back of your cages, you're not going to be able to get this guy out if you needed to clean it. What's great about this is once you've got that union on there.
Nice. Because our audience deserves the best.
Factory cut. All right. And so basically what's going to happen is you want to move this guy out. This is all solid pipe to your cages. You're just going to unscrew this little guy. And now you have the ability to move it away from the unit. And then when you want to slide it back in, you just line it up, screw that guy back together. Boom. Now, another thing we have been having a problem with is flow. Let's say you overbuy on your fogger and you're getting way too much fog into your system. And let me reiterate, people. The amount of fog you're seeing going into your system is not the amount of fog that you're actually getting. It seems to be, if you have so much fog that it's a cloud bank inside of your cages, you're not doing it correctly, in my opinion. You're taking that level up past what our meters can read, and you're creating a fog bank, and I feel that it's just too much fog. Okay. I like to get my cages to fill up slowly with fog over the course of the evening. So I try to make sure that the size head of the fogger that I use is a little bit smaller than probably what I need. And within the course of an hour or two, that I can watch that humidity level rise slowly, as opposed to going from 50% to 100% in 10 minutes. That's not what I'm trying to achieve when I'm doing the fogging for my chameleons. What I wanted to do is go from 40 or 50% in a 2 or 3 hour period up to about 90%. That way it's gradually filling up from the bottom. So that's where I came up with the idea of just using a valve. So if I do end up overbuying, which is a smart thing to do because you want to make sure you have enough fog and you don't want to do it twice. You don't want to be sending the unit back. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and put a typical exterior drain valve on there. They also sell these at Home Depot. And then this way I can regulate by just turning there it is. Okay. So you can see my flow. And I'm going to be able to slow that flow down just by turning this valve. I get more or less. I know the lighting isn't great in here so that you can see the fog. I don't know. Can you see that, Bill?
Okay, I can see it.
Okay. So if I want to slow that fog down, I can just turn this valve and it will just release less fog as I turn the valve.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Wait till you see this apparatus, Bill. So basically what I did here is I just made a miniature version of a big version.
Oh, well, look at that.
Huh?
Uh-huh.
It's
So the question that will come up, and you don't have to answer it now, just sometime in the show, is how many outputs can we put on one of these 5 head foggers?
Hold on, let me turn the fan off. This is just way too much fun.
Oh boy.
Can you see the fog, Bill?
Yep.
Huh?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. I don't know why, but this just gives such a kick in the butt. So see, I can slow it down with that valve. The amount of fog that's coming out of there. Now, the lighting isn't that great in here, and I'm in an open space. So there would be a heck of a lot more fog if I was using if we were in the right kind of lighting. But you see how quickly that changed the flow of the fog. It really works well. Okay. I can really slow it down if I want to. Okay. So what I've done here, say that again. You asked me a question and I've started.
I wanted to know how many outputs can I put on a 5 head fogger?
Okay, so on a 5 head fogger, I wouldn't go any more than 4, and I would probably stick to 3.
Okay.
Okay, three separate cages. You can go up to a 12 head for more. You can go up to 5 or 6 with a 9 head, and then the 12 head. We haven't done that yet, so I can't tell you.
Okay.
But one of these days soon, Bill, that's going to be in one of our shows. Even if I just turn it on in the background and freak you out.
Well, I mean, I think coming up we're going to have a show where we have to produce enough fog for a 6 cage system. So that may
Sounds
be
like
coming up.
we might need to be doing a 12 header. So what I did here is I did 2 different ways of doing this. Now, what I've found is the less there is of a corner, the more flow and fog I get. Now, I really don't have a choice when it comes up and separates. I'm having to use this T because there's nothing currently available that allows me to do what I call a sweep, which is less of a radius. What happens is the tighter the corner that you have, the more fog and condensation will build up in that corner. If it has an easy flow, that fog has a tendency not to build up into those corners. And so what it'll do is you'll end up with more fog into your environment and less condensation inside your piping.
So what you're saying is we need a Y connection?
It would be nice. It would also be nice just to be able to sweep those out. Yes, a Y would probably work, but I don't know that there's something commercially available like that.
Well, no, but we know Mikey Ben. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I got a couple of challenges for Mikey Ben. When the two of us slow down from our summer workloads, I think we're going to have to sit down and get together and
I think
figure
so.
some stuff out. I really do. So at this point, what I did is, and this one I use 222s, and this one has a hard 90, and it's a double hard 90.
Okay.
But if you look at the two of them, you can literally see the difference. There is more fog coming out of this guy than there is this guy. Okay, and you can see it here too. Okay, so these are 22s and those are 90s. Actually, that one seems to be doing really well for some reason right now.
Okay.
But what I have found is that if you use 222s as opposed to 290s, that angle of flow, it seems to give me more fog than it does when I go hard 90.
Okay.
So keep that thought process in mind when you're doing your cages. The other thing that you need to remember is that water will build up inside of these tubes. So what I do is I'll either turn the angles just a little bit so that there's some slope so that my water doesn't puddle inside my system.
Which kills fog.
If you get puddling, for some reason it seems to not only slow the flow of the fogs, and it really doesn't have to be much. I think there's some kind of connection between the water itself and the fog that slows down the flow. It seems to trap more as it's going over the surface of water as opposed to just flowing into the system. So I always like to give it a way of draining out. And the way it's set up right now is any fog that's in this is going to drain into there, and any water that's in this is going to drain back into the system. So just remember that water and fog, even though they're literally what they're made, they will not work well together when it comes to the tubing. So if you have a problem with your tubing, your fog flow, and you know you're getting a bunch of fog in, but it's not coming out the other end, you probably got water in your line somewhere that you need to figure out why it's doing that.
Okay. Well, this is, although this looks like this is the end of the project, this is where a whole lot of the problems can occur. So let's talk about how to most effectively do this distribution system in a real life cage situation.
Okay.
And start off with sizes. What size tubing comes off of the fogger, and do you use the same size tubing throughout the entire tree?
Okay. So generally, I would try to go with the biggest pipe you can. And we got this information from John from House of Hydro, and he recommends using an 8-inch pipe. But you know as well as I do, Bill, that's it's not reasonable and for what we're doing.
An eight
So what
inch
I've done
pipe.
is I've run some systems in 2-inch pipe all the way up. It works fantastic.
Okay.
The problem that I have with that is it takes up what you and I both consider an issue when we start doing more than one cage, and that is space. We don't want to restrict our space. We don't want our. We want to try to keep our cages up tight against the wall. So what I've done in the past is I will literally come out of the system at 2-inch up into my 2-inch T, and then from that T, I'll drop down to 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches, and that's where I'll use a reducer. And what that does is that allows me to, first of all, expense in the cost of the tubing, but it also has a tendency to, once it gets up into that point, it will consolidate it and give you a little bit more thick, dense fog coming out of the end of your tubes. But I don't think I would go anything lower than 1.25 inches. I've tried 1 inch, and it works great for those foggers that you get from online that are kind of cheap and junky. For some reason, those things you can run a 3/4 line all the way from one of those guys, and it'll give you plenty of fog out of the top of that. But when you start using these systems, I'm finding that the bigger tubing that you use, the better off you're going to be. So, if at all possible, run 2-inch all the way along is what I would recommend.
Okay. Now, say, like in my situation, I want to have more fog. Does that say I want 6 cages? You're recommending 3 to 4 on this one. Let's just assume that those are the right numbers.
Uh
So,
huh.
if I wanted to double the fog production, do I need a second reservoir, or do I, and a second output, completely second system? Or can I just put another 5 unit fog head in this one?
Okay, so there's two ways you can do that, and I think you pretty much touched on both of them. In one system I have in my house, I was not getting enough out of a 3-head fogger. And part of it was, like I explained to you, I made the mistake of putting the water level too high. So now I only have a small area to trap my fog. Um, Instead of tearing the whole system apart and adding another, um, adding, uh, buying a whole new system, starting all over from scratch, which technically I did, wink, wink. Um, I went ahead and I bought another 3-head fogger and I dropped it in with the other one. So now I have 2 3 heads floating, technically a 6-head. Amazingly enough, it worked exactly like you're describing. I was able to produce enough fog that I don't really need to change that system out. So I'm going to be lazy for the next couple of months and I'm not going to change it. But now I have 2 heads inside of one. So I think in any situation, you could do that. You could buy a 5-head and you go, hey, I'm getting enough, I'm getting fog out of it, but I'm just not getting what I need. You can probably add a 3 or a 5 or a 9 to that. Or if you start off from the beginning and start with a big one, and then you don't have that problem, and then you can do what I was showing you, as you can choke it down with your valve. So if it was my situation, I think, and it's all about money too, Bill. A lot of us, we're working stiffs. We just got a couple of bucks in our pocket, and we want to save money. This definitely, even though you spend more money maybe up front, in the long run, you save a ton of money. I mean, realistically, you save a ton of money with these systems. And the reservoir itself is only $10. The expense in the whole system is in the House of Hydro parts. Um,
Okay.
And so what I would do if being a construction guy is I would probably start off with the biggest one I possibly think I might need. Um, but if I was a typical homeowner and some guy that's just trying to get by and feed my family, then I think I would probably get the smaller one. And if it doesn't work, I would add to it.
Okay.
Both are very easily done.
So let's just do a scenario. There's a number of people here. We have racks, and so we have multiple cages. And say we have 3 on one level and 3 on the next level. Would you suggest, with the experience you have now, of having one fogger that feeds the lower level and then tees off and feeds the upper level, or would you have a different fogger for each level? And basically what we're talking about is the distribution. What's the most effective distribution when you have 2 vertical levels?
So, my honest opinion, and of course, I've never put this to the test, but playing with these and screwing around with them, um, I I think that I would have 2 systems for each level. With my cages in my house, I could very easily put a 12 head fogger in a 300-gallon reservoir and probably be able to power all of them. But what the simplistic part of it is that if I'm having a problem with one section, I want to be able to fix that. If it's affecting all of my cages, then I think. So what I'm getting at is, I would rather have 2 systems. That way, if I have an issue, it's only with a part of my system as
Okay,
opposed to
makes sense.
screwing with my whole setup. You know what I mean? So I would definitely have 2 different reservoirs for both levels. I think that's how I would do that.
Okay. And so this one that you've got right here, are you actually going to be using that Christmas tree thing?
This?
Yeah.
No, I did this purely for fun and ridiculousness.
Okay. So how far can that push fog out? How far away can I have my cages?
So what we learned from John is that it could be up to 32 feet away from your system.
That is
Um,
insane.
that is insane. I have run a fogger at night outside just for the fun of it, and I put a 10-foot stick on it and ran it out 10 feet and held it up with the 2x4, just playing around out in the yard. And ran in and grabbed my wife and said, "Honey, look, 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 look." And she thought I was batshit crazy.
Well, okay.
But I was getting plenty of fog out of the end of that 10 feet. So just so you know, I don't think it's really a restriction when the size of your pipe is big enough. So the
Okay.
farther you want to go, you're just going to have to use a little bit bigger pipe. I think you're still going to get the same volume.
Okay. Now, and I don't know how much you've experimented with this, so let's just see. What does the effect of the fan speed have on how much you're getting out and how far it is pushed?
Okay, so fan speed is definitely a critical factor. And what I've learned from fan speed is if I'm going a longer distance, I'm going to want more pressure.
Okay.
Um, so definitely you're going to have to turn your fan speed up. But when you turn your fan speed up, what happens is you're blowing more fog faster. And so it's not getting enough time to um, consolidate as much as it would if you had it set at a lower speed. So the lower it is and the more volume of space that you have, the more fog you're going to get. So
And for everybody listening, the reason why it seems obvious, oh, well, you need more power, just give more fan. The reason why that's a good question is because the stronger the fan, the more the fog dissipates. And so you've got to hit that balance of the power pushing it out versus keeping the fog together and not blowing it apart into everything. So it's not just a linear answer.
yeah, there's definitely some factors that need to be played with, and you'll find that out with yourself if you're not listening to some of our suggestions and you just go hog wild and get a 500-watt fan and try to push it through a 1-inch tube. I guarantee you're going to go back to the drawing board because I already have done it, and that's kind of why we're doing this for y'all. We want to make sure that you, at the end of the day, you've got some ideas and how the concept of it all actually works. And it's not relative. Some of it doesn't make any sense. So it's kind of like electricity and amperage and voltage, and there's a big difference between amps and volts, and there's a big difference between volume and flow. So you're going to find that out. It's just like if you put a water tank at the top of a hill. If it's 100 feet off the ground, you'll get 90 pounds of pressure at the bottom. But if you're only 50 feet, you're only going to get 40 pounds of pressure. It doesn't really make sense because it's the same amount of water going down the tube, right? But it's because of that height and gravity, and there's a lot of factors in it, and there's some math that will help you realize that it doesn't work like you'd think it would. Common sense doesn't play into this. Now it becomes a mathematical equation. I haven't put any math to this. I've just done it simply by trial and error, and I've spent a few bucks doing it. So that's kind of why I'm trying to give you guys a heads up so that you're not wasting your money. I've spent many trips back to Home Depot and bought another part.
Well, another thing that is going to come to a person's mind when we're doing these multiple cages is is there a value in putting a valve on each one of the outputs so you can?
There could be. That's a great idea. I think that excellent idea, Bill. I think that if instead of using this idea, you could literally put a valve at the inlet of each cage. And then that way, if you're getting more or less, let's say you're getting 90% in 10 minutes in the middle ones, but you're only getting 90% in an hour on the outer ones, or maybe you're not even reaching 90%. So you could regulate your flow by shutting down the middle ones, which will force more pressure into the outer cages. So excellent idea, Bill.
Okay. All right. And also for those of you who are using this for breeding, when a chameleon is sold, you don't necessarily want to waste the fog in that cage. You can turn it off. That is if you're doing minimalistic. If you're keeping it nice, bioactive, and naturalistic, you still want the fog there because you still want to keep the environment. But you know what? Up to you, depending upon your situation. But the valves give you that option. So,
yep.
All right, James. Gosh, those are all questions I can think of. I think this episode really fleshes out all of the questions surrounding the actual fog unit that we always focus on.
Exactly. Do you think I could show you one more thing, Bill?
You got another thing to show? Oh, you know what? I mean, you've already given so much, but if you got one more, the cherry on top, let's see it.
We always have a problem with this dang fan. This cord is always too short. Why is that so short? Why is that so short?
Because they hate us.
This cord, I could run out to my garage. Okay, so the only thing that annoys me about the whole setup is I got to bundle this guy up, and this guy won't make it to the darn plug. So what I'm going to show you right now is a quick way, an easy way of extending this cord, and a safe way if you do it correctly. Okay. So let me scoot this back just a tad. I'm going to go ahead and separate this guy. And I'm going to show you what happens with this. Okay, so a couple of things that I want to have, and this is called shrink tubing.
All right.
Okay, and what I do is I buy the multi-pack, and the reason I do is because every size is in here that I need to do what I'm going to do right now.
All right, everybody, I just want to let you know that this is bonus. I didn't even know that we were going to be getting this, and so this is a surprise for us all. James is always full of surprises.
I just like to give, Bill. Okay, so in this bonus pack, you're going to see you get 3 different sizes. Okay, you're going to get the Mondo, the Tiny, and the Intermediate.
And what are those?
These are called shrink tube. I'm going to show you. Hold on.
All right. Oh, God, I'm excited.
All right. This is going to look like blasphemy.
What are
I'm
you
going to take this end of this cord with the fitting end that actually fits into the connection. Okay. And I'm going to give myself about 3 or 4 inches because I want to have some room in case I screw up. I'm going to cut it off.
You can't do that.
No, I did it.
Do you know this is on a public forum?
Now, Bill.
The authorities are able to see what you did. You just cut a cord. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
What do you like? Do you like write in your textbooks? Are you that kind of guy?
I don't tell anybody this secret. This is totally top secret.
This is like
Okay.
chaos, everybody. Plug your ears.
Ever seen a pair of these?
James is the kind of guy who cuts those notices off of mattresses.
That's me. I'm going to go ahead and take this guy and I'm going to strip this wire, but you want to make sure you hit the right size hole because you don't
Yeah.
want to strip
Yep.
everything inside.
Yeah.
What you're going to see is it. Can you see it? I know it's pretty far away. Let me see if I can get closer.
Kind of small.
What you're going to see, can you see it now?
Yeah. Okay.
Can
we
you?
can see that. Yep.
It's a red and black wire. Okay.
All right.
Then I'm going to go to Home Depot and I'm going to pick me up this. Okay.
Oh, that's
They used to sell it and call it lamp cord wire.
Okay.
Now all they sell is landscaping. So it's a little heavier gauge. It's a 12 gauge, but we're only literally running like less than 1 gauge wire. So it'll work fine with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. What's nice about this wire is if you look closely, you can see there's writing on it. Where's my camera?
Now, are you cutting it on the DC side or the AC side?
This would be on the DC side.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Ironically enough, you can do this on the DC side too.
Wait.
Okay.
What'd you just say?
Yes, you can do it on the DC side too.
Wait. No, the DC side is what we're doing, right? The
AC
lower
side.
Oh,
DC
yeah,
side.
but
the
we
AC
do it
side.
on the AC side.
But I can do it on the AC side.
Don't do it on the AC
But
side.
I can do it on the DC side too.
Well, you can do it on the AC side. People, don't mess with AC. If you do, don't say you saw it here.
Okay. So if you look
DC
really
side,
closely
everybody.
at that guy, he's
All
got
right.
a label on him. See the label on one side of that wire and not on
See
the
the
other?
label, I can't read it.
It says ATSM low voltage 20 volt AC. So it is AC wire, but we're going to run it with DC. Anyway, what that's telling you is that tells you which wire is which. Okay, and since we have red and black, okay, I'm going to attach my red wire to where the writing is.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so let's start the process. Let me give you, here's how I'm going to do it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the biggest piece of shrink wrap or shrink tubing that's in there. I always cut these in half because they're just a little bit bigger than what they need to be. And I'm going to slip that guy right on there. Maybe I'm not. What's going on today? Oh, the wire's getting too big. Okay, it'll go on there. I'm going to put it on the other side because we'll do that at the finish. So I'm going to slip this on the skinny side. Okay, the big shrink wrap goes on, let it go all the way to the end. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take that red and black wire and I'm going to strip it. Okay, just like so. Okay, then I'm going to take this cord, which there is lighter gauge, and I would probably recommend it just to make it easier on yourself. This is all I was able to get at the moment. Now remember, you got that writing on one side of this cord, and the other side has no writing on it. I'm going to strip that wire. Okay, I'm going to pull just enough to where I can spin this and slide that shrink tube on there. Okay, so I'm going to cut this shrink tube in half. Now I have two pieces. And I'm going to slide that guy right on there. Okay. So there's just enough room to get past it. I'm going to come over here to the red. I'm going to twist those two wires together like so. And then I'm going to bend them over facing to the bigger piece. And I'm going to slide that tubing over the top of all of it. Okay. And it's basically going to look like that. Can you see that, Bill?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. And then what we're going to do Remember, I went to go grab it, and now I can't find it. Oh, there it is. All right. And then we slid it over the top of that guy. Okay. Make sure this guy's completely out of the way. Now, my connection's right about there. I'm going to take this lighter, and I'm just going to heat that tubing up, and look at that. Do you see that?
Yeah, it shrinks on down.
Huh? So we're going to do the same thing with the other side with that other half of shrink tube I cut off. We're going to slide that guy over there like that. And we're going to connect these two guys right here. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to slide it back over the end of that. Make sure that copper is completely covered, folks. You do not want those two guys to be able to touch each other. We're going to go ahead and shrink that guy. Okay. And then you remember the big piece we slid down in the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Just for fun. And it looks like we're going to slide that guy over the top of those two. Okay. Just like so. And we're going to shrink that guy. Okay.
Okay.
And now we have a perfect connection. Okay. And this will not fail you. It works great. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to do this, to connect wires. You're going to basically do the same thing, run your distance out, cut off your wire, take your other end that you had just cut off in the beginning. You're going to strip it and do the same assembly on the other side. Now you have extended your line for your fan for as long as you need it to be. And generally what I do when I'm doing this is I do hook the one end up, set everything up, and then I run these wires to where I want to be plugging things in, and then I'll cut off my wire and make my connection there. That way I'm totally positive of how long I am, and I no longer have 4 extension cords hooked up to my fan before it gets to the outlet. So that was just a quick question. And no, you can't do this on AC, but yes, you can.
Well, not with wire rated for 20 volts AC.
Yes, you can. I do it with my light wires all the time too, Bill.
All right. No,
But I'm not telling anyone they should do that.
yes, please don't tell anybody they should do that.
But it works awesome.
You go on James's private Instagram and talk about doing this kind of stuff. So okay.
What an episode, huh, Bill?
Great.
Breaking the law, Bill. Breaking the law.
You know what, everybody? Just if you don't know the difference between AC and DC, don't mess with this.
Yes, you got that right.
So at least we'll do that, okay?
Okay.
Oh, all right, James. I think you have given us a whole lot to think about and a whole lot to have fun with, because I'm going to be building one of these mega foggers. And well, actually, we're going to be doing it on the show, so everybody's going to know about it anyways.
Right.
So thank you very much. And you got any final words for everybody out there?
Foggers, like Bill's been saying, like we've been trying to push through everybody, and it seems to be catching on like wildfire. This is the way to do the fogging. We've been throwing our money away for so long. Nobody stepped up. We whined and complained to all of these companies about what's going on. They don't seem to want to listen to us, so we're just going to take it into our own hands.
Great.
So what I want you guys to do is just go out there and build it.
Okay. Excellent. All right. See you, everybody. See you next week.